of our 3 LCK teams here, if they can win on red side this final game of our semifinals. Varus, Pantheon gone again. The Senna taken away here by GENG. Broken Blade won't get his hands on that Jax, and we'll see what this final ban is going to be here for G2. Interestingly, that Talia is still up.
Yeah, this is some eclectic bans to come through from GENG to start us off. It will mean that there will be a fair few things left up and available. Not the Aurora, though, which has seen a lot of success here at this tournament. And now, what is Keen going to be picking first? Lucian, just insta-locked.
Ruler wants revenge.
Yeah, and Ruler did not look very happy in that last game, both on the Rift and in the player cams. You can see very, very vocal right now, as Duro feeling a little bit stressed after that one. I mean, the butt gap was just massive. Ansama and Labrov had an absolute day out in that game number 2. The Zyra Khan has been great all tournament, but man, I haven't seen G2 perform as well as they did in that game 2 in a very long time. There is the Ezreal lockaway. Ezreal versus Lucian has been a tale as old as time here as Skumon. What are we going to be taking away next?
I mean, some of the big mid picks right now are, obviously the Victor that's still available. You do have that Talia as an opportunity for, if you're looking for a big pick-based composition and rotational power there, the Rise still available. So these are some high-priority picks. Now, I was wondering if they would look for the Karma here to just shut down this Lucian lane. This doesn't come without a cost, though. It will cost you a lot of engage potential. But we've already seen what Labrov could do with Locket, with the Redemption, and with the shields he has here. He might be able to bait GENG into some unfortunate fights once again, as we saw in Game 2. Yeah. A strong rotation here from G2, but not necessarily going to give us a ton of information about what this comp is going to look like just yet.
Well, Lucian Braum has been very, very common, something that has been pretty powerful, at least over in the LCK. I'm not psyched about Ezreal Karma. I feel like whenever I see it, it just feels lukewarm. You know? Doesn't make me excited.
It comes at a heavy cost, like I said, in terms of engage. I think it's going to do fine into the Lucian Braum, but the Braum and the Lucian will have a lot of value outside of the lane, as well as Xin Zhao actually going to be played way late in this series, down on B3 here of our 3rd game of Fearless. Probably the latest we've seen this champ pick at this tournament. We'll see what the response will be here from Skumon, as I think it will likely be his pick before we move into the second banning phase. So that's where things get really interesting, because the mid lane champions, there's a few of them left available, but they might all kind of get cut down.
Yeah,
Wukong comes to mind.
And it's going to be all solo lane bans, which is kind of crazy. We don't see this all that often. I feel like that puts red side in a little bit of an advantage, right? You finally
100%.
Get to utilize the counter pick for top side, counter pick for mid lane, perhaps as well, depending on where G2 want to take it. Maybe it's just going to be a safe top lane choice. There's no Trundle. You can take Sion, something like that.
I feel really good about this Wukong pick because they needed some engage, because they have the Karma, and Karma also helps Wukong engage and is very strong with him when he is getting on top of multiple members there. The Victor I mentioned is gone now. We may see Rise to follow.
Yeah, I think the Rise is a big one.
The Talia, also a strong pick that can work really well with both of these compositions and will impact side lanes quite substantially. Because if you ban the Rise and the Talia is left open, then one team gets that massive global advantage. The Galio, also
a big one.
A really strong consideration. I feel like Galio is really good for G2's comp here, just simply because they already have the Wukong, they have the shielding from the Karma, they'll have the Galio shielding on top.
See what's going to happen here is this final ban, it feels like it's going to be Rise, right? 18 seconds to go. See how long they're going to use to think about it. And is it just going to be Ornn and Sion? Get rid of the 2 tanks.
What if G2 just play Camille and look for insane lockdown in this composition? Camille Galio could be incredibly powerful if they get their hands on both. The Cho'Gath makes it seem a little bit less likely. Can potentially just bait the Sion ban with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was going to be a Sion ban anyway, but now it's really a Sion.
Yeah.
Unless there's a checkmate that they're thinking about, right? Maybe there's something that they wanted to get their hands on, maybe a Talia, for example. Talia Wukong has been very, very powerful, and they won't have the opportunity to ban that away unless there's going to be a largely unanswerable... okay, never mind. The Rumble going to be the decision here.
Really strong position here for G2 in this draft.
Oh, yeah.
The Rumble ban doesn't feel that powerful. Sure, there's no Ornn to answer, but That was your own choice.
Scared of a Rumble or a Scion in this case, and I'd probably be more scared of the Scion personally.
It is going to be a choice that G2 will make right now that will define this draft.
Well, it's a Scion. We kind of knew that was going to happen, so now the answer has to be there.
There's no Cho'Gath, there is no Rumble, there's no Jace to answer this pick right now, and it's just such a tough lane. And Scion is
Camille Galio. They just play Camille Galio.
But that's what I was mentioning earlier. It's great
I was so tunneled on G2 playing Camille Galio.
It's kind of hard to play that into Wukong. You know, it's not impossible, right? But it is tricky. I actually kind of prefer this. Because it has a little bit more of a safe engage path. You know, the Camille can be shut down, can end up getting punished really hard. This is going to give you so much shielding, so much brawling power, and access to a backline at a larger range than a Camille can necessarily give you. And if you play the Galio, you're blind. They will play it.
Yep.
And we will see what the answer here for Caps ultimately eventuates to be. Could end up playing an AD pick here. That would make them extremely low on magic damage, but into this comp, I feel like that's okay, actually. You know, with all the engage they already have at the front line, double AD carry could be strong. They could even go for like a Tristana pick here, and it would feel pretty solid for them. They've got a lot of reset potential. There's a lot of shielding. You could set up for those resets. But he is going to pivot over to the Syndra to look to try to command the lane. This is something that our analysts were asking for, talking about earlier, seeing these niche Caps picks come out that we're not really seeing any other mid laner play.
Well, these are your compositions. Chovy is very famous for his Galio play, but I feel like this comp doesn't have the same amount of cohesion that we've seen from others in GENG's past. This on the side of G2, pretty stock standard team fighting composition, and I was worried about the lukewarm nature of the Karma, but like you're saying, the Syndra, a bit of fun here, can throw some orbs around. Broken Blade can be largely unkillable on that Scion, and Skumon, if he continues the form from game 2, it is going to be gigantic because this Wukong could really run away with the game.
They lost engage in their support, but they found it practically everywhere else in this draft. I do think that it's hard to generate a significant lead as Syndra into the Galio in lane, but you are always going to have that push. You are always going to be able to impact the jungle, and the mid-jungle synergy that we've seen from Skumon and Caps in their best games of this tournament has been tournament-defining for them, and maybe what actually sends them to this grand finals. I like their draft better, if I'm totally honest with you, Atlas.
I like it too, but I think that Lebrov was such a big part of G2 in game 2, and Karma just doesn't have agency, right? Like, you're not going to be making those big plays yet again, so the rest of G2 needs to step up. We're going to have another one of those incredible days like yesterday for BB, right, where he can really take the bull by the horns, make things happen. His on was so good. His Scion could be the same thing as we go into the deciding game. Remember, guys, GENG have won 24 series in a row, and a lot of the last few went the distance, so it's not a surprise that they drop a game. It would be a surprise if they drop a series. We'll see whether G2 can be the first team to do that since what, road to the LCK Cup?
I think the LCK Cup finals against Hanwha Life was the last.
That was it.
In Game 5, when we were at that time praising Hanwha Life for the Game 1s and the Game 5s, how things have changed.
Indeed.
It's a long year of League of Legends, and some narratives feel like they'll last forever, but they don't last half the year. And for GENG, they came into this tournament as massive favorites, MSI champions. The streak continued, an incredible resilient series against Hanwha Life Esports in the road to MSI. To fall here, I think, would shatter everyone's expectations, especially with what they've accomplished already even in this tournament. Sure, they'll drop the game to FlyQuest, but the drafts for GENG and the play, if I'm being totally frank with everyone, and sure, I'm an LCK representative, so I hold them to a higher standard. I think a lot of people hasn't lived up to the elite GENG macro, hasn't lived up to the oppression that Finn was talking about, that we had one of our G2 managers talking about on the desk for the pre-show. And we're going to have to see some of that GENG magic here in this final game if we're going to bring it back, because I feel like there are so many tools and ways to get on top of this incredibly low-range composition here for GENG. Like, Ruler already had a tough time in the previous game, and this game, there's, you know, so many threats. You're going to have to deal with the Wukong potentially get on top of you. Broken Blade can flank you. You have to deal with the Scatter the Weaks. And the follow-up is just so easy for an Ezreal.
Yeah. And this lane, not going to be easy. Of course, lane swaps exist, and so that will help GENG here, but the early laning phase is going to be very rough against Ezreal Karma. They are known for being able to shove in the lanes. I think similar things can be said here for this mid lane as well. Broken Blade also going to have a fair bit of control on the top side, so I think eyes are going to be glued to the jungle to see whether Canyon can put out some of these fires.
One of the reasons why Syndra was so meta for so long was because she, you know, if you look back to like 2021 where she was almost permanently first picked, is because she wins a lot of matchups by default, especially with the range advantage she has, the consistent poke she can layer in. You know, there were so many 80 matchups where you had to help string her into this pick just because she's so strong. She was a Corki counter pick for a long time with the old AP damage Corki, the burst package variant. And you can see here already into the Galio, like Chovy just can't really do anything. It's somewhat reminiscent of when Chovy was playing to the best of his ability that Smolder into the Yone, right? It's just a tough matchup to play out, so you're going to have that perma-prio. The Ezreal Karma they drafted early into the Lucian is going to have that prio, and Sion's a brick wall. So G2 have a lot of early game control.
Well, let's see what Canyon can get done here. Looking for an early gank onto Caps. They can get a flash, it's a big deal, and they do manage to get it. Can they get more as the Scatter of the Week is so good? Wind becomes lightning, no dive here for Canyon. They're going to be happy with a flash, a return gank. A very scary thing here now for G2.
Very, very powerful. Keen going to sidestep and do a little bit of damage there.
Now going to be able to take a cannon as well. Made me nervous just for a couple of moments, but is able to lock that one down. Obviously, the most important thing on the Rift is getting as many cannons as you can.
You can see Skumond has taken a bit of a lead, obviously, because he didn't go for a gank in terms of the farm, and now could potentially look for a gank here onto Chovy, who is flashless. He has red buff as well. Chovy not being very respectful here. Okay, does back away now. Skumond not quite able to path over fast enough. If he's just a little bit quicker, maybe there is an angle there, but we'll just try to look for a tri-brush wraparound. Sees there's no ward there, but there is one outside of the pit. Heal's already dropped.
Both of them are going to be invested here into this attempted play, but I think GENG had a bit of an idea as to what was going to be happening, so not going to be allowing that one to eventuate in much at all, as Broken Blade continuing to take a lot of aggression here from Keen. This Ambessa play has been some of the most aggressive that we've seen so far this tournament.
Yeah, and it's really hard to generate a lead like this on a Sion. Sion is just so tanky. It sits back, grasps, so hard to kill. Skumond heading over here as Broken Blade's trying to bait.
Yeah, I feel like...
But there's a ward.
Yeah, I feel like Keen is not going to bite off more than he can chew, and with that ward there, certainly going to be able to make all of the right choices, knowing exactly where this Wukong is. So Keen will be able to get the shove, and the teleport is going to bring Broken Blade immediately back in. Does have that red rock and a cloth armor, so he's going to be absolutely fine. As Duro coming forward, shows them the door up close, and the flash to come on through here, not able to break those chains, is now Ruler in point-blank range, but Lebrov gets into the fog of war, and Hans Sommer is able to answer back. So GENG looking worse for after that trade.
Yeah, interestingly, lethal tempo here for Hans Sommer on this Ezreal. Not the most common rune choice here, but is going to be fantastic if you keep trading like that and continue those extended fights. That's going to force them back as Duro will lose his flash, but it's a trait. And so a fairly even one at that. G2 getting the better of them, but it won't amount to too much. Keen is going to head towards that bottom lane now as that lane swap goes towards the top side. And finally, Ruler can breathe.
All right. Caps and Chovy facing off here in the mid lane. And we'll see what's going to happen. No flashes available, but we can also see what's happening around EWC as well, as it is the championship weekend, and the MLBB Women's Invitational has just concluded their grand final winners. Team Vitality, and they clean sweep Gaming Gladiators 4-0.
Congrats to Vitality.
Yeah, that puts Vitality actually at 1,500 points as well in the club championship as well. But we've got a fight here towards the top side of the map as Arula is rooted, and Canyon, we're going to pay a visit as well. That is just going to buy some space for the GENG bottom lane, just trying to keep themselves in it. You can see about 11 CS behind, something like that here for Arula. And they are just sort of licking their wounds, trying to get what they can
Chovy.
in this difficult matchup. As Chovy, yeah, like you say, could be in a little bit of trouble here as he sidesteps the Scatter of the Week, finds the taunt onto Skumond eventually. Caps does avoid it, but more of these orbs just sidestepped gloriously by Chovy here.
I mean,
him PC, Wolf, I think.
For some people, Chovying means just getting a lot of farm in CC and sitting in a side lane. You know, that's kind of like the Hanwha Life Esports Chovying moniker was. But for me, it's Chovying meaning something like this, like generating a significant lane lead as Galio into Syndra, into First Strike Syndra, and having perma prio and forcing jungle resources in this matchup, sidestepping scatters like that and just walking out like it doesn't matter, like he saw it coming 2 minutes in advance. That to me is what Chovying means.
He really did just not get hit by most of the stuff.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I already saw this coming. Yeah, it's whatever.
Well, that's what it is. You just need to be a bit clairvoyant, I guess, is maybe the way. As G2 feeling like maybe there's going to be a gank on the way, but this wave is in a little bit of an unfortunate position. 3v3 as Canyon makes his way out. Labrov gets audaciously charged, but the Cyclone comes on in. That's a fantastic Crescent Guard, and First Blood goes over to Ruler. It will be answered immediately as Skumon takes him down, and Canyon not going to be diving the turret just yet. So First Blood is going to come in as Keen. That was a bit of a surprise public execution, and Hansama lying on the floor in the blink of an eye.
Keen sneaked all the way through the middle of the map. I was watching him rotate up. He pushed the bottom wave, came over with the prio that Chovy had, and walked all the way in. They continue to exchange there in the top side of the map to make it look like a juicy opportunity for Hansama to continue to chase. He gets caught by the end of the public execution, and now Canyon is going to be able to take all of these grubs. Ult comes through here for Broken Blade, doesn't have TP, can come over here and clear up this wave, but man, what a play there from Keen.
Check it out one more time.
Coming over here at the initial part of this fight, like the Wukong ultimate is so powerful, but it is completely denied. Ruler does eventually get collapsed on here. It's a trade of kills, and that's the TP that comes up here from Keen. Gets into this, they bait this over.
Meanwhile, in live, Ruler in a little bit of trouble here as Hansama just needs a little bit more. There is the Galio to come down, and the last Mystic Shot misses! And so Ruler is left alive. GENG still need to invest a fair bit into this one, and G2 are taking a Dragon in the meantime. Man, that was so close to an extra kill, evening things out there for G2.
That was very, very close, but unfortunately not quite enough. Ruler will get lucky this time as he's avoiding that last shot. Does survive, losing only barrier but not flash. I feel like pretty good about it.
I feel like this lane is so incredibly important for GENG here today. As Keen, he's either going to be not able to do anything to Broken Blade, and Broken Blade's just going to do that thing where he's Scion and he's immovable, or he can run away with the matchup, and then Broken Blade has nothing that he can really do about this Ambassador in his side lane.
I mean, the fact that he is able to control it on the bottom side of the map there and then TP over to take out Hansama with a really nicely placed ult. You know, you get those advantages, allows you to have a lot more freedom over the map just in general. Chovy is going to eat this Mystic Shot, but sees Labrov and thinks about going back.
Yeah, presses the Inspire button, gets a bit excited about the fact that Chovy used that Justice Punch a little bit too aggressively, and he sidesteps a Mystic Shot to buy time for that Justice Punch cooldown to come back again, and Chovy's not going to be dying just yet. But control of the wave, certainly here, the tempo certainly available here for G2 on the bottom side of the map.
Bit of a rotation over here from Caps as well. As Chovy is super low, they want to try to turn this into something more.
Teleport available here for Chovy as well. So Skumon going to make his way in. Cap's going to steal the Bramble back. And there is that teleport that we were talking about. The smite from Canyon is going to take his red. And Chovy, with that teleport, is going to make sure that there is no further aggression.
That was a bit of a scary situation there on both sides. That play looked like it was going to be on the knife's edge. The Force of Will there from Caps pulls it out, but Canyon says, I don't care. That's the end of that fight. If there's an overextension there from GENG, though, or if a single member gets caught out by a scatter from Caps and gets blown up by his ultimate, could have been a huge angle for the side of G2, but instead it's still a very even game here. Hansama now the target as they look for a potential dive.
Yeah, the flash forward from Duro, but he misses. And the teleport is going to make sure that Hansama stays alive. Duro shows them the door, and he will make it out. But bit of egg on the face of the newest player of GENG. I say newest, came in at the same time as Ruler, but Ruler still had many, many years on this org, so I'm going to say newest.
I think that's still correct.
Yeah, I think it makes somewhat sense.
I mean, it's a big win for GENG though, because they got the TP out of Broken Blade. Now it's the ult top side. Are they going to get the punish here onto Keen? I don't think so.
Yeah, the public execution comes down. Nimbus Strike is the last of the gap closed there for Skumon, as The train comes out of the station, and Keen walking back into this lane. In comes Broken Blade.
I mean, that's a lot of damage, actually. I feel like what could have been worse here for the side of G2 kind of works out because Skumon did that. Now, he doesn't have his ultimate here or this skirmish.
Yeah, moving over. Wind Becomes Lightning doesn't quite land, but there's the flash taunt as Caps is the target. Skumon doesn't have any buttons left because he just used them to try and take down Keen in the top lane. And the heroic entrance is going to try and get the knock-up, gets the flash out instead, as now Broken Blade is inside the Thunderdome, and he's flashing, looking for the angle. Canyon needs to keep hitting if he wants to stay alive, and he does so. Lebrov is booking it to this top lane and gets the flash out from Canyon. There is a route onto Keen. He has to flash to get out of the way of the Q, and Duro is going to turn up as well. Everyone's making their way in, and it's G2 that are starting to lie on the floor. Broken Blade is going to get stunned up as these concussive blows are so dangerous if they get layered one after the other. And the Zombie Scion will be ignored as GENG win the fight.
Caps teleports top lane, will only get minions. GENG are out of there. The ways that these fights can go if things go just a little bit differently is crazy. It's been an incredibly volatile game, but GENG keep getting the better of G2. Started off with some teleport shenanigans. The ultimate being down for Skumon means it's pretty illegal for Caps to be out here, though, in this river. It's a good good flash, though, but Chovy is able to match it and set up the taunt here. He's able to get his ultimate off, which puts Canyon low, and then G2 are like, well, we've got to force this, right? Chovy looks for the ult here, gets the knockup. Unfortunately for him, only on the clone, but Broken Blade flashes here, looks for the extra shield explosion damage, but Canyon barely gets out. Lebrov flashes for the Mantra Q. Canyon avoids it, looks for the route here onto Keen. Knockup just barely avoided by Keen on the flash. I mean, these margins are razor thin, but it's just not enough, and GENG come over and clean up houses. Caps is unable to TP in until it's too late.
And it's like, it feels like whoever counted flashes better in the previous engagements were the ones that were the benefactors of this, because it was so many flashes invested just to make sure that this went GENG's way. The answers were always there. Caps flashes immediately afterwards. Chovy is flashing away. They get Skumon's flash, and then Canyon knows that he can then flash away from the Wukong because he can't get in there. It's ridiculous, the dominoes that have to fall in order to make sure that these fights are clean. And GENG now with the first big lead of this game to the tune of about 2,000. That's only extended here as Keen gets the first turret
as well as beats
the game. Exactly right. So that's going to be some cool shoes that they put together.
G2,
this is going to be second Drake, though, for G2.
Let's see what the soul is, because this could be quite significant. Okay, it's going to be Infernal. That is big. So G2 fans should at least be able to feel good about the possibility of what happens if they can get a few more of these dragons. The game state is definitely GENG favored, but that's something you've got at least in your back pocket for later on if you can win some of these big objective fights with your comp that has a lot of great CC here. As this game has just been hands checking non-stop. As you said, flash counting. Lebrov.
Yeah. It's a little bit dangerous here as Canyon walks forward, doesn't find the Wind Becomes Lightning, as Keen just looking for that public execution angle.
And now the Rift Herald in control of GENG. And, you know, you look at Caps, he doesn't have TP. Broken Blade doesn't have Prio. And unfortunately, I think GENG, or unfortunately for G2, GENG is just going to get this one for free. See a bit of a wraparound here, but it will be spotted on a ward, and Chovy just has enough mobility to get out of here.
Oh, Chovy going to get knocked back there by the Scat of the Week, but just decides he wants to channel a taunt, and Lebrov not going to do too much damage. So Rift Herald going to go over to Canyon. And now Keen playing pretty aggressive here towards his top side against the one-item Broken Blade. When the Black Cleaver comes in for Keen, that's when even Broken Blade has to be scared of the damage this Ambessa is going to be doing.
The Keen lane dominance that we have seen this game just continues. It gets tougher and tougher.
I mean, Keen is not, he does not want to lose this series,
no.
this tournament.
He's the one who was talking about how
so well
it really impacted him that they lost so early last year.
Yeah.
And he was not able to lift that trophy.
And they were the favorites coming into last year's EWC as well. This was, you know, GENG coming off an extraordinarily dominant spring split back then. And this is the same story, but finally actually living up to it here in Riyadh. As Lebrov fighting against Duro and Ruler here. As Hansama looking a bit worse for wear at the back end of it.
Herald drop
to be dropped here in the mid lane.
They're going to clear this wave and look for the collapse onto this turret. May force a reaction out of Skumon.
Fair bit of damage to this turret as well. They might be able to take this one down. Full mini wave is there, and full grubs are actually a couple of the grubs, but still able to take that one down. So very nicely done here by GENG, keeping the pressure up.
They're just not even going to let go of that pressure, forcing Human back here.
Oh.
Ruler looking for the all-in.
I don't know about that one, as Ruler needs to be blocked there by Duro. A bit of a trust fall, I guess, into the mid lane to make sure that Duro was paying attention. And now Lebrov going to be fighting against Canyon. There's a heroic entrance just to scatter G2 to the wind. The taunt to come down. Connects onto a clone and Lebrov. Lebrov might be the target they're looking for, but G2 do make their way out. And GENG will back off as well. But you can see, with how far up GENG are pushed, they still have so much tempo right now.
I mean, he still had flash and barrier. He's just playing on the tightrope here. Skumon wants that angle. He just isn't going to find it. Keen rotates over here. True shot.
Okay, Keen flashing, get himself out of the way, ults, and doesn't find anything but the air, and will keep himself alive. It was an awkward scenario. Now Cap's in a little bit of trouble as a turret is taken down by Chovy, who is definitely not here, by the way. He's got a teleport available as everyone is so low. The scout of the week is going to take down Duro as Keen executes Caps before going down. That looked absolutely insane. And GENG is playing right on the edge, Wolf.
It's just a hands game. It's just mechanics. It's just raw mechanics. And it started out as an unfair fight because GENG had so much control over the mid wave. They took out the mid turret. They had vision control. But G2 said, if you're going to be greedy, we will match you at every turn. It ultimately ends up being a trade that Ruler had flash and barrier. And he was not afraid to use them there. Ultimately, the game state here is still favoring GENG, but it is just so incredibly close. Keen sidestepping, at least attempting to, still gets hit by the barrage. Uses his ultimate here to try to avoid the scatter of the weak, to use the unstoppable, but still ends up taking too much damage. But is he afraid? No. Canyon goes back in, gets the shield here out of Lebrov. Then Ruler tries to go for this play here, gets rooted, has his barrier, flashes the scatter. Keen goes in, like a madman, barely gets the shield to both secure a kill and allow the rest of his team to retreat. And you can see it on Caps' face. It's so close. It's always so close. And it's just a slight trade up for GENG, and the GENG fans, until the last moment there, weren't sure if they liked it.
Yeah, there was a lot of apprehension from everyone. You can see, though, Chovy did 0 damage. He was on the bottom side of the map, trading up for GENG. So the GENG fans probably not feeling too bad after the outcome there of that one. And I'm not going to praise Keen ever again, because he did some weird stuff in that strength wrap around there.
If he hits the, stops the scatter with the unstoppable there, you know, or is able to.
Duro was an absolute hero, though, eating the entire unleashed power, and that's going to make Caps' life really difficult. We haven't spoken about it just yet, but the fact that the Unbreakable can stop those orbs, the one-shot potential of this Syndra needs to be carefully mediated, you could say. But now, standing behind Broken Blade, public execution is private. They're from Keen, unfortunately.
Certainly a whiff on that one as G2, remember, this is Infernal Soul point for them. They have the choke point controlled, trying to clear this vision.
Arcane Shift from Ansama gets him to relative safety as GENG feeling like they have control of the mid lane. G2 in a little bit of an unfortunate position is into the backline, goes Keen delivering a gargoyle. It gets a knockup onto Skumon, but down goes Keen to start this up. The taunt is so good. The Winds of War only onto Lebrov though, and there is the culling to take down Skumon. And now the GENG freight train is a-rolling, and they're looking for Broken Blade. The Dragon still up and available. GENG looking worse for wear as Hansama, exactly right, looking to try and do some of this cleanup.
5,000 damage nearly on Hansama in this exchange. So bold, never afraid to look for those E's forward to maximize the damage. The Crescent Guard is down, and G2 start up the Dragon. Chovy's back though with the TP, and G2 are going to think better of it. They already have a 2 Drake lead. They're down 3,000 gold. If they threw this fight, gave the Dragon and kills to GENG, it would certainly spell their end in this tournament, despite it being so close, despite that pick onto Keen. Canyon being that second front line is just a bit too much, as you know, Keen making some crazy attempts in this one. This guy is afraid of nothing.
The sidestep from Caps was amazing there, actually.
He's just so fed in this game that he's like, I can kind of just go forward, and I trust that my team will back me up in every scenario. And also knows in this fight as well, Hansama takes very little damage. A lot of the damage is front-loaded onto Lebrov when we do see that collapse in. In live, by the way, though, might have a fight here in just a moment. Either way, Keen is the one who gets focused down. Hans Sama doesn't end up taking that damage. He gets onto, but again, the focus goes on the Labrov. Wins a war here, not really hitting Hans Sama, so Chovy is pushed out. Caps maximizing his damage here, hits the scatter to prevent follow-up here. Broken Blade has to back out here with the flash. But the Genji are like, okay, we don't have that Crescent Guard anymore. Hans Sama is coming for us. They back away. And you have to imagine in live, we're going to be setting up for this one again.
Yeah. Did have so much damage done by Hans Sama. I tell you what, this has been an unbelievable tournament for this man.
I mean, he's just, the guy is just, when he gets a lead, he knows exactly which fights to take. His positioning has been so phenomenal. I mean, we've seen him very rarely get punished or get caught. He plays these safe champions like the Xayah, like the Ezreal, but he still walks the line. You know, he stands just on the edge of safety to maximize damage.
And the way Ezreal looks good is how well you play aggressively with the fact that you have so many good defensive tools, right? And Hans Sama showed us exactly that in that last fight, pushing back Canyon, almost managing to find a bit of an angle there, make sure that they only lost Skumon. They did lose the Dragon, but it's not end of the world. And G2 certainly still in this one. As Ruler and Duro in position in this mid lane, just playing a bit of that K-Ram, as we like to call it. I think it was an NA Ram at some point as well, and I've never heard it be described as a European one, so that's a bit of a shame.
EU-Ram?
Yeah, it doesn't feel good, does it?
No.
No, not really great. We'll see whether maybe Dagon and the gang have got something for us on that front. Maybe Finn knows. Maybe Finn has like something that they say about being in mid too long.
It is a Scion and a Syndra, so it's just kind of how it goes in terms of you want to be grouped in the mid lane or you want to be 4-1ing at best so you can...
And his number goes up, right? And as these numbers go up, G2 are going to be feeling better. As Labrov goes down, though, they're going to be feeling worse as Keen does break the tether. But he's very scary, and I think I would have had a little bit of a heart attack as well if I had have found a Keen in that brush.
Well, I mean, for GENG, they end up pushing Labrov away. Has to now back, so there's a window here to potentially start up this Otacon. Chovy doesn't have TP, but he has his ultimate available, and I think that's enough.
Yeah, they just saw him go home.
Now, Hans Sama can rotate over faster. He and Broken Blade have control of the mid lane, but they have to be quick. They have to be fast here as Cap's trying to offer poke, but it's not enough. LeBron running over as fast as he can, and this fight is about to break out.
Yep, this Galio can be here at a moment's notice as well. You can see Broken Blade is trying to deal with him, but he needs to get there as well. As Canyon looking for the angle, there's the public execution as Keen will just decimate Hans Sama. They'll try to take down Skumond as well, I'll correct myself, as he does make it out, but the Otacon is going to be secured here by GENG. Caps all out of mana actually, and not with too many options either, as that was a cute little Q over the wall from Broken Blade, but he's not really able to do anything. The prize is already claimed here for GENG, and they're only extending that lead.
Keen playing so fearlessly this game. We've seen quite a few of those public executions whiff, not at the mark, but this one certainly did, as Chovy looking for more here is going to get rooted, but there's just not enough damage. There's no Cyclone anymore. There's no Ezreal here, and he is going to walk away scot-free, but G2, we're so close for looking for the punish there. The block from Duro as well onto Hans Sama's True Shot Barrage really limits a lot of that initial damage they were looking for. GENG fans, I feel so scared, so terrified that maybe this final LCK rep could have gotten knocked out. The draft was so good here for G2, but they have taken full control over this game now. Hans Sama quite blast coning his way in here, but we'll drop the True Shot Barrage right into Duro's block, which also blocks the scatter. And then the instant follow-up, the second those cooldowns are down, Keen's like, I'll go in, we take out Hans Sama, target selection is perfect here. Chovy blocks any sort of follow-up. And because Caps is playing Syndra, he's more utility, he's more setup. He's just not going to be able to offer enough damage here to challenge once that Ezreal's gone.
Oh my goodness, the fans so incredibly passionate. And GENG looking on the cusp, and I can't help thinking back to what you were talking about before. The fact that our LCK representatives haven't shown the clean, crisp gameplay that we've gotten used to so far this tournament, I think until this game, where GENG have decided, oh, well, G2, they gave us a run for our money in game 2. We're going to have to give them the best.
It's the almost like angry GENG game 3, where they focus up, the clutch is there, and it's confidence that we're seeing in spades, especially from Keen, but Ruler as well, who I feel like has a lot to prove after that last game 2 loss. Now chasing Broken Blade away here.
Well, we'll see whether GENG can actually find an angle, as of course we're fighting over this dragon. It's going to be up in 10 seconds time. G2 desperately trying to get some position back on this map because GENG are suffocating them out of their own jungle right now. And there is just no red vision outside of a little bit towards that top side to try and protect against a Baron sneak. There is not much more here.
GENG get it for free. Now, they were down 2 dragons, so it is going to be only their second of the game, but those stats are so relevant when you start getting those percentage-based
Infernals, man? Oh, God.
Percentage-based ADAP adding up so much, and if you get a third one plus the soul itself, I mean, this Lucian hits so hard. Even Chovy's Qs are going to be massive later on. And there's just no side lane angle. Like, yeah, they push mid, they don't get anything, but they get the dragon, and it's not like, it's, oh, that Syndra's pushing that top. Not really. It's a Syndra. You know, she can't actually threaten the cross, and then Chovy just slowly goes up and answers as Keen demolishes this Scion, makes the Scion look like he's made out of aluminum in this game, just denting him over and over and over, bending him to Keen's will, and Broken Blade feeling broken in this one. And a Baron attempt.
Yeah, a little bit of a stun on a Chovy. I was about to say nice stun, but it almost did a damage, so I guess it's almost there. Unfortunately, Chovy pretty tanky as well, sitting on 2 items. Riftmaker relatively recently completed. See what he's going to put together now.
I mean, the Baron start and turn for GENG is so incredible, especially now that Chovy has level 16. He gets before this back. We'll pick up an additional item and head straight over. There's a little bit of vision that needs to be cleared here. That one control ward actually cleared by G2 as they replace with Labrov. There's one there in the pit. Once GENG clear that up, they could start to look to push this Baron in. And without vision, it's hard to play this Syndra comp. You know, it's hard to engage. They have a Wukong, so steals are possible, right? But winning a fight, that just sounds out of the question at this point.
And getting to the pit is what I feel like is going to be the most difficult part. Because GENG, I don't think they really want to start something up with all 5 people grouped up, right? They want to start something with 2 people and have 3 ready to kill whoever's trying to face check. And that's what they've been doing when they've built leads like this in the past. As Chovy goes over to take this minion wave, and we'll be able to get this top lane pushing forward as well. G2 given a little bit of respite as they clear out some vision around this Baron. So at least that isn't going to be snuck for now. But still, G2 on the back foot, well and truly. 4,000 gold is the approximate lead, but it's the fact that Arakan is there. There's a couple of grubs. There's the cool shoes. There's a lot that's putting GENG even further ahead than it might look as far as the money is concerned.
Chovy in such a good position to deny any entry. That vision we were talking about moments before is now completely cleared. Keen looking for a great trade here. Can TP into the Baron pit at any point, really without any fear of Broken Blade interrupting him. Only can just dash away and channel that one up. And you see some first strike gold keep stacking up here for Caps piece by piece, little by little. With this Cosmic Drive build here, he's got the Void Staff, but like you said, getting to the pit, getting to the fight, much less winning it, just is impossible here for G2.
It's feeling difficult, but they're not going to go for a 50-50. It will be Canyon just backing away, looking to secure that blue buff. Still on that bottom side, Broken Blade, I believe, was losing out on another trade, but as you can see with the health bars, they're actually looking kind of okay for Broken Blade here, holding his own.
I mean, at this point, GENG are just backing away, resetting, grabbing items, pushing waves, and they're just going to do it again. And if they can keep just stalling this out, because the Baron is tough to take, it's relatively high health, obviously. They can stall it out and then just turn their eyes to Dragon, then they get a third Infernal Drake. And for GENG right now, the name of the game is just not to lose your lead and continue to stack up gold on this Lucian and Ambessa. GA completed now for Keen. Means you have to kill him twice if you're going to win the fight. And Chovy makes it tough enough already. Locket online for Duro. Like,
yeah, the Owl Guard is a big deal as well for Chovy. The fact that he can dive in on top. Hopefully he presses it this time around as Labrov.
Chovy on the flank.
So much, yeah. Chovy looking for that taunt angle, gets it onto Hans Summer. The immediate follow-up with the public execution. They do get the chain CC onto Keen, but he then gets the shield from Chovy on this Galio. The double taunt comes in now. Caps with the scat of the week. Canyon taking a fair bit of damage, but he has the Crescent Guard to stay safe. No one dead just yet, though. This could be good for G2, but now another taunt to come forward. Keen following up, and Hans Summer is finally executed. Canyon finds the knock-up. There's the Q as well from Duro to make sure he goes down. The clone is executed as well, but G2 lose both of their damage dealers, and now GENG can take whatever they want.
Hans Summer's greed is finally punished there. We talked about how he walks the tightrope, how he walks walks the edge of these fights, maximizing damage. I think he thought he was for sure scot-free on this one to go back in there, and he's caught by a hiding, lurking Chovy taunt. Down summoners, no way out. He was able to fight his way back with Flash E and Cleanse the last time, but the second time he's caught, he is not so lucky. As this situation here for G2 is so incredibly difficult to play. Han Sama is on a ward. He's not aware of it, right? Chovy wraps all the way around. He's already used his E, right? Taunts, cleanses it, gets caught here by Keen. Flashes back. His team peels for him, right? The Cyclone comes out, and he survives. That in itself is a huge feat here that GT are able to keep him alive. Cap's now trying to peel. True Sharp Barrage with the empowered W takes half of Ruler's health out, and then it looks playable here for Han Sama until Hide on Bush, part 2. Chovy comes in, Flash taunts. The Ezreal has no mobility, no summoners, and wins the fight. Really big double taunt plays. You know, Chovy goes around the wraparound, gets sums on the second time of asking, takes out the carry for G2, wins the fight, and gets them Baron.
There's a very happy Arnold there as well, as GENG managed to win that one out, but that was so extraordinarily close. The whole start of that fight is, in the meantime, Keen is going to have to be ulted here by Chovy to stay alive. The Unleashed Power there from Caps doing a lot of work. And the Scat of the Week going to get sidestepped once again. Ruler side laning here on this Lucian. So GENG not actually looking to start off any fights, just looking to buy space for this Lucian to take down the turret. This is looking dangerous though, as he is moving further and further into the enemy base. There's Scat of the Week. Ruler taking so much damage. Duro is going to be set up as Skumon gets the flash out of this Lucian, and then he just culls him where he stands. GENG just feeling too far ahead this time, and Ruler baits them to overextend. Han Sama is going to fall down, and I think that last play was the backbreaker, and GENG just walk all over them here.
Ruler has his flash, nearly as IE as his fourth item. He just does so much damage. If you don't kill him instantly, he will just kill each and every member of G2 and kill their chances of another final appearance. They were so close, but GENG say no cigar. They will take game 3. They will be LCK's finalist representatives. They will make it to the finals they never got to see in 2024.
Yeah, last time they were dispatched extraordinarily early on. This time they go the whole way. They remain undefeated in series as well, putting that number at 25, which is absolutely unheard of. On the other hand, G2 had a phenomenal performance here today. We'll see them again to take on T1 tomorrow in our third place match.
And what a cool finals we have.
Oh,
Atlas. GENG beat T1, who beat AL in knockouts for MSI, but didn't beat them directly, right?
Yep.
This time they have to actually challenge them. They brought T1 so close at MSI and then were able to defeat them very one-sidedly, as they seem to have leveled up since MSI. And this is going to be a really tough opponent for GENG. And for G2, they played it so close. And Han Sama, sure, he got caught by that last Chovy taunt, but I think he should be insanely proud with his performance he had all tournament long. The guy deserves your praise.
Oh, he absolutely does. I mean, those team fights in this game were at the level that we've seen in LCK finals very recently, right? There were so many moments that were on a knife's edge. If Duro didn't have the door ready to block Caps' ultimate, so many of these moments where they knew exactly what they needed to do on the side of GENG, and they absolutely had to, because G2 pushed them to the limit. Really, really beautifully done. And we've seen GENG versus G2 in the past. It's been heartbreak on both sides. More recently, GENG has got the better of them, but it's great to see that G2 can bring those fights. And now we've got Ian alongside with Chovy to crush a key.
What a semi-final it was here for League of Legends at the Esports World Cup. I'm standing by with Chovy of GENG. Just secured their place in the grand final. We will talk about your opponents shortly. But first, let's reflect on that series with G2. You started so strong. Even yourself, you got a pentakill. You made it look easy. But then they really fought back and gave you a different fight from game 2 onwards.
일단 초비 선수 승리 축하드리고요. 첫 번째로 드릴 질문은 굉장히 좀 압도적인 경기력으로 또 펜탈기까지 넣으시면서 1세트를 정말 압도적으로 승리를 하셨는데 2세트 때부터 좀 달라지기 시작했어요. 그래서 G2와 또 혈전을 치르시게 됐는데 G2와의 경기에 대해서 좀 어떻게 평가하시나요?
일단 아무래도 좀 G2가 잘하면서 혈전을 벌인 장면도 있는데 저희가 기본적으로 인원 분배나 턴 분배를 좀 잘 못한 것 같아서 이런 부분을 잘 보완하면 될 것 같아요.
Yeah, I mean, obviously G2 put up a great fight, but I think we made a mistake on some of the team fights or even some of the placements on the teams. So I think we'll have to fix on that.
You are literally 1 week removed from becoming MSI champions. This time last week, you raised the trophy, you had an MVP performance. How do you not let the success go to your head?
이제 지난주까지만 해도 MSI에서 우승하시고 또 MVP까지 받으시면서 어떻게 보면 정말 최고의 순간을 계속해서 보내주셨는데 그럼에도 불구하고 이렇게 최고에 올라온 만큼 계속해서 이걸 유지해야 된다는 좀 부담감이 있지는 않으셨는지 궁금합니다.
일단 뭐 이렇게 높이까지 올라왔는데 유지해야 한다는 부담감보단 그냥 당연히 잘 해야 한다라고 생각을 해서 별로 부담은 안 되고 그냥 해야 할 일 하는 것 같습니다.
I'm focusing more on what I have to do right now more than a pressure of being at the top. So I think that's what motivates me more.
Let's look at what you have to do right now. I think maybe yourself, many of the viewers and the fans woke up this morning expecting T1 to make it into the grand final to give us an MSI rematch. That's not the case. You'll be up against AGAL. Can you beat them in a best of 5 and why?
이제 많은 시청자분들도 그렇고 많은 분들이 이제 T1과의 결승 리매치를 좀 기대를 하고 계셨을 텐데 예상과는 다르게 좀 AGAL과의 이제 오전제 승부가 기다리고 있습니다. 그래서 AGAL과의 오전제 승부에서 좀 승리할 자신이 있으신지 그리고 승리할 자신이 있다면 왜인지 궁금합니다.
일단 당연히 승리할 자신이 있고 그냥 뭐 승리할 자신의 이유가 뭐 긴 말 필요 없이 저희가 이미 이겨봤고 또 저희는 MSI 우승도 했기 때문에 저희가 충분히 잘하면 이길 수 있다고 생각합니다.
Yeah, of course. I'm really confident because I'm not going to say it long. It's because we are the better team. We have won them before, and pretty sure we're going to do it our best, and we're going to bring us to the trophy.
They're chanting MVP over here. Just before we crush a key, you are on a sensational run of form. Your fans have traveled from all over the world to watch. GENG fans, make some noise for this man right now. Do you want to crush G2's key?
G2 키를 부수러 가시겠습니까?
알겠습니다.
Let's go!
Let's go indeed. GENG book their spot in yet another grand final. This is the brutal part of EWC. Europe's last hope crashes out. Their key crushed along with them. It's time to say goodbye to G2.
Hey everyone, this is the post-game interview of GENG versus G2. Caps, you guys were 1 game away from taking the series from the MSI winners. So what went wrong in that game 3?
I think we had a decent start for sure. We ended up getting the first Drakes. They were getting a little bit ahead in goal, but I think the third Dragon is really where they took the edge. I think it was looking as well decent to start off with. We had a lot of control, but then they just found a good flank, and from there it felt a bit harder to contest them up.
And of course, going into EWC, a lot of people on the internet and fans in general have been saying that G2 had this glow up. So how would you reflect on your own personal growth and G2's growth as a whole?
I mean, I'm definitely happy with what we have improved, like the way we improved. I think the way we play is definitely more competitive now than it was at MSI. I think we kind of just sat back and waited to lose. Today we still lost, but we at least tried to fight our way. And especially game 2, we also found a lot of angles, and especially Hans was popping up.
You guys aren't out just quite yet, because tomorrow we will have our third place decider between G2 and T1. So how are you looking forward towards that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, definitely would have preferred the final, but I can hear from the crowd that we're looking for a third place finish. So we will look to win.
Thank you. And we have a lot of fans from G2 at the Riyadh Arena. So do you have anything to say to them?
I mean, a big thank you guys for the support. It means so much. Like, I was quite sad after the loss, but seeing all of you guys definitely brings me up. And after this, I'm ready for tomorrow.
Thank you for the support, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, Caps, and back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much, Kitty, as we had 4 post-game interviews with 4 of the best mid laners in the world. That last one, you hear the main man for G2 trying to get them back 6 years in the making to an international final and falls just a couple of team fights short. Caps and G2 should be proud with the way that they fought.